Well, hello, and welcome back to Gearhead Geeks, where in this video we're going to start putting this KZ400 back together. We've got some welding to do, we got to get some wiring in there, we've got to get the chain and sprockets, get all the cables done. We've got the parts basically cleaned up, but they need to be assembled, so let's get to that and we'll continue on from there. So the first thing we need to do is figure out what we're going to do with this taillight. This is a taillight off of AliExpress or whatever. They're inexpensive, but I've used these before and they work really, really well. This has got turn signals built into it, a stoplight and taillight. So all that we're going to do is we're going to establish where we want it. Now, I could put it out here, but that means I'm going to have to build a bracket that's fairly long. And why not just roll it back a little bit, and then the bracket gets shorter and kind of tucks in underneath. It looks a little better. So we've got that, and I just need to go on ahead and mark where the taillight goes in here. And it looks like I've got it pretty close. So what we're going to do with this is we're going to take a piece of this strap metal and we're going to go on ahead and cut it about the approximate length of what we want. And I'll mark this up a little bit. And it's pretty close here. I'm just going to mark it. And we'll just run this one down. And then I'll cut this on the bandsaw, bring it back, and we'll adjust it. And then we'll figure out where we need to weld it. So what's going to be happening is this piece will be welded in here, and the taillight will bolt right to it. So I'm going to do that right now. Need to grab a marker, go with the bandsaw, go to this side of it. And we'll just cut it where we need it. And see how we Okay, we've got our piece cut. Now I can go in ahead and see how close we are to fitting it. And it's looking pretty good at the moment. I have to figure out where everything is level. But as far as the length is concerned, we might be a little bit long, but that's what we wanted anyway. So now, what we want to do here is figure out where the two studs are going to be. This has got a license plate bracket on it already, which makes life a little bit easier. And so first things first is we get it kind of where we want it. Now that's here. I need to shorten it a little bit so it goes up in there. And then figure out where the center of it is, and then we'll drill some holes and we'll get it up in there. And we're getting a little closer. All right. Yeah, and that looks pretty good. We're pretty close with that. So now what I need to do, that's our good length. I think we've got a pretty good length going on at that. Then we got to center it. And we can always make the holes a little bit adjustable on these. But, yeah. We're just going ahead and center this in here where we think it's center. Maybe we'll take a pair of vernier calipers and we'll measure each side. And this side's close to about 25 millimeters, and this side's just about perfect. Good. So we'll mark that. And we can mark these guys up. Then we'll get an approximate place for the height. We'll mark that. And then we can drill the holes and we'll weld this thing in. So it's something like that. And as far as this is concerned, we can go down a little bit with it. Get the height here about where we want it. And this is 13 millimeters, which is about a ½ inch. And we just mark on both sides. And mark it right there. Now these are about 5 millimeters. No, not about 5, they are 5 millimeters. So we just get a drill bit that clears them and drill these guys out. We get a center punch. I've got one of these little snappy type center punches. Makes it fairly easy to do a punch. Alright, go to the drill press. Actually, I've got a step drill in here, so we'll just go do that. And we did a pretty good job of centering it. Looks nice. Okay, let me get the other thing we're going to need to do here is we need to cut away for the wires, so let me do that. Let me get that done. Get that marked. It seems that we need to go right about here and here, and we need to go up to about here. Okay, so what I'm going to do now is I'm going to go on ahead and shape this guy up. I need to cut around in here to get it so it clears the wires. I need to get this all cleaned up and nice so it's ready to be welded in. Okay, so now what we have is a bracket here, and we'll be welding in there, but we're just going to get this guy adjusted to where we need it so that it sits nicely in our So we'll take our clamp, we'll put the tail light into place, make sure it's exactly where we want it. Everything looks, it's at the right level. It's just barely touching in here. I'm looking at it inside and it looks like it's fairly close to where I want. But we'll know better when I can stand back and look at it. Okay, just in general, we'll hold that like that. Oh yeah, that's just about perfect. Wow. It needs to come up a little bit here. Put it away there. Let's see if I can do that again. Sheesh. Maybe I need to come in from the bottom. Nope. Okay, fine. We'll just do it this way. Clean this piece of metal up. Now that everything is in good shape, I'll get this all looking better. I'm going to round off these corners. Okay, with that, just turn the machine off and see if you can drop this a few more times. Sheesh. Okay, all fits nicely. Then this guy sits up in here like that. I'll put some of the nuts back on it so I can make sure that it doesn't do anything weird. So here's where we are. We've made our bracket. And we just got to get it centered in there, and then we're going to weld it in place. We're going to tack it in place. We'll remove the tail light before it melts. All right. How do we look? Could be just a little bit. Yeah. Okay, so we're going to get our MIG welder out and tack it with that. And it's a fairly straightforward operation. We just take this guy. That's all in good shape. Here we go. Try to do this without knocking over the camera. Now, we'll make sure everything's level. Looking really good. Yeah, beautiful. Let that cool down a little bit, but our taillight bracket is welded in. It's going to need a little grinding here and there. We're going to be doing some grinding and painting, but for the moment, not bad. We are in place. We have a taillight bracket and a license plate bracket. Grab a file here and just make sure everything's all cleaned up. That's a little better. So now, all that we have to do is bolt it in for the moment. And when we do some more grinding on things, we will be all set. Ready to paint. Welds don't need to be cleaned up. And our license plate's going to fit like about here. Yeah, no, it's going to be perfect. Awesomeness. And looking at it from the back, yep, nice and out of the way. It's not intrusive. License plate's going to fit nice in here. The whole thing is going to work out extremely well. Very good. So, taillight mounting. On to the next thing. So let's go on ahead and start in on our, we got to do our clutch cable. We got to patch up the cables on the, for the engine wiring harness because they got holes in them. And I didn't patch them up when I put this cover on. So we'll pop these screws loose. You got to remember that these things were all just completely rusted solid when we first got this bike, so this whole thing is in much better shape than it used to be. Got nice screws in there that look good. And hopefully we can pop this off without too much issue. Here it comes. And everything fits kind of tight, but that's okay. We don't mind. All right, so our clutch cover is all cleaned up inside. So all we need to do is we've lubricated. I've taken and cleaned up this clutch actuation mechanism within an inch of its life. So it's clean, it's lubed up, it's in really, really good shape. Everything in here is in good shape. So what we have is our clutch cable, and I'm using the old clutch cable because this is a budget job. So our clutch cable is in good shape. We got a good spring. I've lubed it all up. This thing moves really nice and free. There's very little drag. I had to do a little patching in here because it had melted off on a pipe, because this kind of gets real close to the pipe and it wasn't attached properly. But that's okay. We'll just fix it. And then this, is a pretty simple operation. All that you do is you take and you put the clutch cable in. This has got a spring on it. And you just get the cable, you push it through, get it so it's in there, and then you just get it inside of this, inside of that, and you're in pretty good shape at this point. So all that we need to do is we can pull on the cable and make sure that we're okay. And there's a little cotter pin that goes in there, and I'm going to go get one of those right now. So we've got a little small cotter pin here, and that goes in here, and all that it does is just kind of holds the end of the cable from popping on out. You just take that, you just bend it over a little bit, and that's all you need. You don't need to get, we just want the cotter pin just so it holds it in there, so the next person that goes to use this isn't going to have to fight that cotter pin. So this guy just goes back on. Lined up to do so. And he goes like that. Okay, and you just push this in. Whoops, we haven't finished up what we intended to do. So now what I got to do is these wires, I don't know if you can see them, need to be patched up. So what we're going to do is I've cleaned up everything fairly well in there. Those wires are clean, but what it needs is some tape, and you got to use the right type of tape. And the type of tape that you want to use is type of tape you want to use is a cloth tape, and it's made for wiring harnesses, and it makes life so much better. It looks better. It's not gooey and sticky like regular electrical tape. It's got a very, very strong adhesive on it. You have to pull pretty hard on it, but basically you just want to go on ahead and wrap it like you normally would, except this is almost the same material as the original. It's a little finer weave, but it's nice and tight. It tears nicely, so you can tear it in a straight line. And we've got another little patch here that we need to do. And then just go on ahead and tear it. Now this is in good shape now. This one is not. Got a few places that needs a little bit of TLC. We just tape it up. Tear it. And there's another spot right here which needs a little love. Okay, now we have a nice clean setup. Now what I need to do here, and I'm going to go do this presently, let me get this all pushed back together as it should be. So, just being a little stubborn. There we go. Nice. Okay, so now this guy gets plugged onto here. This is our neutral. And then what we do is we run these wires up. And continuing on here, we are going to, there's a little clip here that clips all the wires in. So we'll take those and just kind of clip them in, get the screw started. And we'll run the screw in. And once our wires are in place and tucked away nicely, we'll just bend that around it so it holds those wires up without any issues whatsoever. Nice and tight. Push up our holder. Our wires are held into place now without any fear of them coming out. And we will route the rest of our wires out the back, which are going to plug into our harnesses and whatnot. So now we have a nice setup in here. Our wires are all done. So now what we need to do is we need to put our sprocket and chain on. Then we can put the cover on. So we've got a brand new chain. But we need to get our nut and lock washer in. Okay, so now that our wires are all nicely tucked away in here, all ready to go, it's time to put on a chain. This is a new sprocket and a good one in the back, and we've got ourselves a chain. Now, supposedly this is the right length. We'll see. Cut this. And this is kind of a cool looking chain. It's got kind of a gold cast to it, and it's really neat. So we'll see how this goes. We got a master link in here. That's good. So first things first is to get this thing to come on through. And around we go. We'll just lace it around. Relatively a simple operation. Grab it in here. And just lay it in here. I'll just lay this like this. Lay this like this. Now this is a little long, to be honest with you. So I may have to cut it. And we're just going to use an old school chain breaker, if we have it. And we only need to remove this one plate over here. So we'll see how this goes. This may or may not work. I may have to use a more modern type chain breaker, but we'll see how it goes. So far so good on one side. And we'll do the other. And these old school chain breakers work really well on the non-O-ring chains, but they don't work so well on O-ring chains. They have a tendency to destroy some of the rings. You're better off cutting it with a grinder and getting it out that way. But this is fairly fast and not very messy at all. And one more time on this side. And out it comes. So we'll see how this went. And that was it. We removed the link. No problem at all. Alright, so now somewhere in here we should have a master link. Now what I'm doing here is putting on the master link, and the chain drives this way, so you want to make sure that you put your clip so that the chain is driving into the closed part of the clip. And then you just snap it on, And it is ready to go. We have got a change, and all we need to do is adjust it a little bit. And we're going ahead and adjust it. We'll grab a 13mm wrench. Grab our 13mm wrench, and we'll just work our way in with it until the chain gets into a reasonable position. And we'll go up to about the third mark, it looks like. Yeah, I'm going to go a little further than that. And we're at about just before the fourth mark. Get the other side in there. And we're just before the fourth mark, which is close enough. We'll do a final adjustment later. Chain's in pretty good shape at the moment. So we just take this. Got a nice big wrench here, 32mm. It's always nice to have the right tools. Okay. And a 27mm, and this is, we may put this, depending on what the exhaust looks like, we may change this bolt and turn it, go in the other way with it, but for now we'll just tighten everything up. And it looks like this thing needs a washer or something, or somebody has changed something, because the castle nut is going in too deep, but that's okay. We'll get that all fixed up. So the chain is installed. So now we'll go back. We're going to go back to here. We're going to take a 27mm socket. A little bit of air. Turn this on. We're going to give this thing a shot. And that's all you really need. And we'll lock that down. Give this a whack. Got that started. Take a pair of pliers and go the rest of the way with it. And we are all set. So now we can go on ahead and put on our case. And again, we've put the spring in, clutch cables in, we've got our cotter pin in place. Everything is nice and clean. This has been lubed up very nicely. So all we need to do is go on ahead. And now we can take and push this on as we need to. There we go. And we'll take some screws and we'll put those in. And of course we want to make sure that we have the best looking screws up on top. And we've got a, is this a long one or is it a, no, that's the long one. And a bit shorter. And we'll just run these in by hand for now, because we're going to be adjusting the clutch here real quick. As soon as we get the clutch cable engaged up top, Actually, I think I want to take this screw and well, we'll look at a nicer looking screw for the top one. And this is the wrong one. Okay. So anyway, now what we need to do is get the rest of our cable lined up along here. This is a little better. And we'll see, again, we may change this again in the future, but we don't know. Okay, so now our cable is about where we want it. All tucked in nicely. So we're gonna check our adjusters. Now, what we had done is we cleaned out. We had to helicoil all these threads because this entire thing was just completely rusted together, and it's all clean and beautiful in there now. So now what we need to do is adjust our clutch. Okay, so you can see our clutch moving here, but we've got everything is backed off completely. All the adjustment is at its furthest out so that we can adjust it here, and then we'll have access to this adjuster and this adjuster as the bike gets ridden. And the way you adjust this, it's a relatively simple deal. We take, in this case, this is a 13 millimeter, and you just loosen up the lock nut. Then you just run in this, or we're going to run in this bolt. Let me get my finger in there until the clutch rod just starts to touch. And it's just, I'm just barely feeling it touch right there. And so I'll back it off maybe, an eighth of a turn. And then we'll just lock this down and see how we did. Okay. So now, our clutch lever up here is perfect. It's adjusted. We'll just tighten this up. And by adjusting it down there, we have got a operating clutch with no other fiddling around. Again, we might reroute some cables and whatnot, but the clutch is adjusted. And we'll zoom back, come back over here, and you can see when I pull the clutch, you'll see this guy move. And the clutch is engaging and disengaging, and the slack's about right. We'll adjust it some more, but we don't need to adjust it anymore here. It's adjusted properly down here. So we can put our screws back in. And we can grab a rag and wipe everything off, get all my greasy fingerprints off of it. And there, the clutch cable is done. Ready to go. So now, we can move on to the next thing. And while we're doing cables, so we may as well just go on ahead and let's take a look at our front brake cable. It's in relatively good shape. I've lubed up everything. So all that we need to do is I've cleaned all of this off. So now everything works nicely. But I'm going to go and clean up this. I need to clean up this nut a little bit because it's not as pretty as I'd like it to be. It's just not very good looking at this point. And we'll get the piece that fits inside there And the brakes are just basically gently put together. I put it in where I thought it should be, but it could be that I'm off a little bit. I didn't know the measurement on it. So I'm going to go clean this stuff up, and I'll be back, and we will go from there. Okay, now we've got our nut and spacer, or whatever you want to call it, the holder, cleaned up. So what we're going to do, we're just going to take the cable, and it's relatively simple. Just take that, and we run it through the, we'll be running it through the hole in this. Okay, and we put on the nut. It looks like my adjustment might not be too bad. So now, this guy, actually needs to go in this direction. We'll take this, and we'll run it up, and I'm going to go put it in the other side. So I have gone ahead and put the cable in the other side, and it is working perfectly. So all I need to do is just tighten down these nuts and bolts and get everything tied up here, and our cable is installed. Just that simple. Got plenty of room for adjustment. Yep, perfect. Good. So that's all done. There's a speedometer cable, so we may as well get that. I have already taken and cleaned all that up. It has all been, it's nice and lubed. It turns freely. This was all completely rusted and really bad shape. And what we'll do here is we'll just take this and slide it in, and all you need to do is just kind of turn it a little bit to make sure it goes in. And it's in. And you just push it down in. It's really got it's got an O-ring on it. So we'll just take this and run it in there. And we'll find a screw for this, and the cable's in. So let's go on ahead, and we are going to put our carb boots on. And we've got gaskets that need to be gooped up, because the surfaces here I don't trust, and you should goop them up anyway. This way you'll prevent any kind of intake leaks or whatever. So I'm going to be using this Honda Bond HT, and the reason I like the Honda Bond is because it's very thick body. I usually like the Yamalube, but when it comes to getting something thick, this Honda is much thicker. So we'll just use that, and we'll just goop the stuff on here. Probably not going to be the best thing with these gloves, but we'll see how that goes. Keep on gooping it on here until we get them both completely covered. And we want a fairly thick coating of it, to be honest. It's and the surfaces just don't look that great. It's a 50-year-old motorcycle, close to that. And let's just give it a fighting chance here. Okay, so there's one, and we'll get him kind of stuck on there without making a mess, and we'll do the other one. A little more Honda Bond. I think I'll throw these gloves away right after I get done with this. And just goop it on. The good part about this, not only is it a good color, we can wipe off any excess that comes out, but we can also wipe it off on the inside too, so there won't be anything going through. And this is Some sticky stuff, that's for sure. Good. Get this. And these go on one way. They aren't symmetrical, so it's kind of leaned off to one side. And I'm going to go get rid of these gloves because this is just going to be a mess. Okay, and I've got fresh new screws and a number 3 Phillips screwdriver. Always use the right size screwdriver. That's makes your life so much easier. So all we do is we just start these guys, and see if I can't get this one to go in there. There we go. It started. And let's get this one in. Okay. And what I'm going to do before I tighten down, I'm going to make sure the gasket gets centered in there. Kind of just making sure that the gasket is not hanging into the inside. And you just tighten these down. And one side's done. I'll go do the other side. And we should be able to put the carburetors on, which I've already got the cables in, but we'll see how that goes. Screwdriver. Yeah, this stuff is kind of messy. That's okay. We'll live through it. I hit. Looking good. So now our carb boots are all fresh and new and nice, and all the extra stuff is wiped out. All the excess from the outside is out, so it all looks good. We got fresh new screws. I had cleaned up the clamps, and according to the book, the screws go to the top. And they say that the screws go to the top. So what we'll do is we'll swing the carburetors in, and maybe we'll put a little bit of silicone lube on them. Probably not the worst idea in the world. So I'm going to take a little bit of this Yamalube silicone lubricant and just give these guys a squirt. So it makes life a little easier. Okay. And like I said, I've already got the cables on the carb, so I'm going to bring these carbs in. We'll come back over there. And let's see if we can get these guys plugged on. And it might take a little bit of effort. But one of the things that we want to do here is make sure that we don't... I'm going to get something to pry with. I just need something to push against the back of these carbs because it's a little stiff. And they pop on. Pop the other side on. There we go. And that's that. will tighten down the clamps, and I can see that putting the screws to the top is the right thing to do. And then start tightening them up. And we had previously cleaned these carbs, got them all set. So they are in good shape and they should be ready to go. One of the reasons we're doing this is because what we want to do is we need to be fitting up where our battery box goes and everything else, and we need to have the carbs and air filters in place so we can see what's going on. Okay, our carbs are in place. Everything is nice, a little rubber mounted. Our cables are all in place. We've got some wires and whatnot from whatever. Our handlebars are starting to come around. Plug wire on there. And so what we need to do now is see how far our air cleaners are going to be. So let me go grab one. So we got these K&N pod air filters. We don't have any of the pieces that this motorcycle came with originally. They're all gone. I had to find a battery box on eBay, and because I could have fabricated one, but why not buy one for 10 bucks? So what we want to do here is just see how these guys are going to fit. Now, it's touching down in here, but that's not a big deal. We can insulate that. But that gives us plenty of room for a battery box. Now, I've got this thing kind of sitting on a little hinge type thing, and so I can adjust things around. So it should make it fairly easy for us to put this tank on here. See how everything fits? Oh, everything just fits beautifully in here. These pods are going to work out perfectly, which I'm not a big fan of, but for this motorcycle, not bad. So let me show you the pods in our battery box. So our battery box sits here. I can probably move it forward a little bit more. Because the reason I want to do that is there's going to be a fender in here which hasn't arrived yet, and I don't know exactly where that is, but the original battery box sat something like this, and it was moved out because the cover came out. We want our covers to be basically flat in here, so our cover is just going to come up to here and come around. Our seat is down here, so our cover is just going to kind of going to get bolted onto these two guys and come up here and hook on something else. But we want to make sure our battery box is in and our electronics are to the inside. So looks like we're in good shape with the carbs on there. Everything is working nicely. It all looks good. Everything fits nice. These pods are going to work out fine. We can continue on building this motorcycle. Great. So moving right along, we need to start putting in some of our electronic harnesses and get all these things in place so that we can continue on with getting our components in place. So we're going to start with the wiring harness. I have cleaned it up, so it should be in fairly decent shape. I haven't really been looking at it to see how it goes, but from what I can see here, it looks like it goes something like that. We can see that there's a bend in this thing that's already there, so we may as well just go with the flow on this one. We know that goes underneath the tank. Is there any kind of anything does it go inside of that? It's possible. But we can do that later. So here's what we're going to do. We're going to take this main piece right here, and these I know go inside the headlight bucket. So we'll just take this and we're going to run this guy up here. Okay, so that puts us in a good position there. And then this, we know it kind of follows this guy. Is there any room in here to do that? No, not really. But we know that this will go this way. So, from the looks of things, I wonder if it goes kind of like that. Something of that nature. Yep. Okay, so what I'm going to do here is I'm going to get some straps, and we'll strap this guy in place, and we may make some adjustments back and forth, but this looks like where it goes. When I got this motorcycle, none of this was on it. This was all just sitting in bags, in filthy bags. And again, I've been cleaning and cleaning and cleaning and cleaning and removing rust and all sorts of nasty stuff. But in this case, let's just get this guy strapped on. And that looks like he can go here. This might not. We'll see how this strap goes. These are the original Kawasaki straps, which is kind of cool. Okay, there's one. And let's get this guy strapped up in here for now. And continuing on, we will go on ahead and strap this guy into place. Pretty sure he goes something like this. And again, we can make adjustments on it. We're just getting this thing held in place at the moment, so that when we really go to wire things in, we'll really know what's going on. But at least we're strapped in for now, and all the harnesses seem to fit fairly well. This is going up front. That's good. Here's this goes to our horn, so we know that's all correct. There are a few connections that go inside here, and I'm not sure what they are quite yet, but we'll figure them out. This guy, and this goes down to our brake light. This is going to plug into our other harnesses. Looking good. We're closing in on things. I'm going to go over to the other side and look and see if I can find the plug in for the coil. So the coil is already plugged in. That's what it is. And there's a plug over here that goes to a yellow red. So we'll get that guy plugged in. Let's see if we can find that. So here's our harness that's coming out here. Here's a yellow red. Here's the yellow red coming out of our coil. And nothing more than just plugging it in. All the connectors have been cleaned, and that's good. And again, this guy will go down to the horn, which is amongst the missing, but I've got another horn, and I do have the bracket, so that's in good shape. And these guys, let's see if they go into the headlight or what. Okay. Nope. Okay, so these guys, this is our harness for the kill switch, and we will go on ahead and let's see what it plugs into. Move this down. Okay, so we need a plug that has 4 on it, and in the corner it's got a yellow red. So easy peasy, plug it in, done. There's a brown, white, everything is the right stuff. So that's plugged in, and just put your You can take and put your cover over the top of it. Okay, we have another harness here. And this is our headlight harness, which has a high-low beam and the turn signal stuff on it. And it is a 6-prong. And there's only one 6-prong in here, and that's this guy. So, bada bing, just plug him in. Done. Covered over, we're in good shape. There's a blue-white wire coming here. There's a blue-white wire coming out of the main harness. So, we've got that one. Now this is the black wire, which is a ground, which in this harness, as we can see, there is a black wire coming out. And he plugs into there. So he's all plugged in. And we have one wire left, which is this blue-white wire. And we got to make sure that we got that correct. No, we got this one wrong. So double checking. This is a blue-white wire, which goes here. And this one is a blue wire. Okay, so this is basically plugged in. This goes to a brake light unit. And there's a little brake light switch on this thing. It illuminates. So I don't know if I have the unit or not. We will see. Hopefully we do. But all this can then tuck in. And we are basically wired for our handlebar switches. Get this pointed in the right direction. Handlebar switches, we can start putting on some grips. This is all headlight stuff, and mostly this is the headlights. This is the speedo stuff, turn signal wires, and we've got some definite work to do on that. And I'm going to try and find this guy. But the wiring is just that simple here. So we're in good shape with that. And I also have a fuse box here that I need to mount inside here. I don't know where it went originally, so I'm going to try and figure that out. It must be, I've looked in the parts book, but there's really no clue as to where it went in its original form. I'm going to work on this battery box, and I've got to make a mount. There was a piece of rubber, and let's see if I can run the camera down. There was a mount that went here, which is complete. I don't have it folded over, and then there was a piece of rubber that captured a little lip inside here. So I'm going to do something of the same nature. Maybe I'll make some sort of little thing that captures that lip, and then bolt it to this guy in some way, shape, or form, and that'll hold our battery box. And still, we want to keep it rubber mounted, and it's actually in a pretty good place at the moment. It's just close enough to where we can service the air filter, but we want to make sure there's enough room so that we can get the air filter off and put it back on when we need to. We don't want to be having to fool around with the battery box. So this is in a pretty good position at the moment. I'll mount it down in here some way, and if the rear fender gets in the way, I can kind of cut it away or melt it and just cushion it a little bit. So that's going to work out well. This is going to become a motorcycle. I've got the foot pegs all cleaned up. I'm waiting for some paint to dry, and we'll get those foot pegs in there. The side stand is bent terribly. So what I'm going to do is I've got to pull it off. I'm going to put it in the press and heat it up and bend it back. How it got bent, I do not know, but it is definitely bent. So we'll fix that. And once we get that done, once this is basically in place, I'm going to pull these wires and stuff out of the way, and then I can finish. I'll clean up all the rest of the frame, and because the taillight is all done, I'll clean up the rest of the frame. I'm going to do some more welding on it to clean up the rest of it, and we'll get it all painted up. And I didn't want to do anything until I had all the bracketing that I needed for the battery and the other side. And the other side, let's go on ahead and take a look at that while we're at it. What I did is this whole assembly right here mounted out here, and it was sticking out about an inch because the original cover came out and it left room for it. We don't have that. We want to be flush. So what I've done here is I've taken some 1-inch spacers and I've gone to the inside and I've spaced this in, so now it sits inside and we'll be able to get our cover on it without having to worry about it protruding. And our cover is probably going to come up to about the edge of the air filter. So it's probably going to be fairly straight coming down here, and then it'll come back and we'll do it. And I don't know what we're going to make it out of. We'll make it out of something. So we'll do that. Like I said, I'll get all these other pieces cleaned up that need to be cleaned up so I can paint this, and it will continue on. Again, foot pegs are there. I'm de-rusting the Kickstarter at the moment because it was rusty like everything else. And but it's starting to look like a motorcycle. It's really starting to come around. The engine is looking good. Our seat base is all done, ready to go. We're going to paint it, and somewhere in the time between when I paint it and get it all done, we'll start building a seat from scratch, and that ought to be interesting. But we are moving forward. And our throttle, go here, see if we can get that. Yeah. The throttle's all wired in, cables are all on. Everything is super smooth and super nice. There are some meaty springs on these carbs. They are just super, super, super stiff. But that's the way it came, and I'm not going to worry about it too much. So we will continue on from there. Looking good. Looking really good at this point. We've gone ahead and we've mounted our coil using all nice new bolts in here. We've got our points hooked up. Again, they need to be attached to there's little, we'll get our little bands on there, get it attached to the frame. I'm going to start putting together a horn for it. And I've got a new battery for it. And we'll get this thing up and running. We've got a headlight. We've got an LED headlight. And hopefully it will look good. I'm thinking a 7-inch headlight gives us some good light, and the reason I wanted a 7-inch is because there's turn signals built into it, so we don't have turn signals hanging down, but we do want to have turn signals. They're wide enough apart where you can actually see. Every little bit helps. They'll be wide enough apart to where I can see which direction you're going. So that's next. Our taillight is all in, and it has turn signals built into it. And so we will continue on from there. Well, that's about it for this video. Thanks for watching. Next video, we're going to be finishing up all the wiring in this. We'll get the headlight bucket all in, get that wiring all done. We've got a tack that should be here any time. We'll get that put in. This one didn't come with a tack, so we'll be putting an electronic one in there, a little smaller. We'll make it look nice. So again, thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.